Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Her fingers pinched my son's side like a test. I slapped her hand away before I even thought. My dad's driveway went silent like someone hit mute. My boy blinked up at me, waiting for my next move. I'm Dana, 34, and I hate how fast I smiled. You know that fake smile you wear to avoid a scene? I heard myself chirp, "Hey, let's not touch him." She kept her eyes sweet like I was the rude one. "Wow," she said, dragging the word out like gum. "He's getting big. Are you watching his portions?" My son's face tightened and he stared at his shoes. I felt heat crawl up my neck and I stayed polite anyway. I tried to steer the kids inside before it grew teeth. She stepped in front of us and blocked the doorway. Her hand floated toward my daughter's waist, then paused. She smiled wider like she was doing me a favor. "Turn around, honey," her voice went sing-song and sharp. My daughter did it because adults train kids like that. I reached for her shoulder, then stopped myself mid-grab. I didn't want my kid to feel like the problem. My dad cleared his throat, then acted busy with keys. That tiny dodge hit me harder than her words. I looked at him, waiting for backup that never came. He avoided my eyes like they were a spotlight. Inside, the kids hovered near the snacks from the road. My son reached for a bag, then pulled his hand back. That killed me because he never does that. He watched my stepmother like she carried rules in her pockets. "Before you eat, let's do a quick check," she clapped once. She walked out to her car like she forgot something. I followed because my gut screamed at me too. She popped the trunk and lifted something heavy with both arms. It was a bathroom scale, plain and clean and ready. She set it on the driveway like it belonged there. My brain did this stupid stutter like it could not compute. Then she patted it twice, inviting my children closer. "Let's make it a game," she pointed at my son first. My son shook his head, small and fast. I stepped between them and my hands started trembling. I heard myself say, "No, not happening," and my voice cracked. She laughed like I told a silly joke at a party. "Oh, come on, it's just a number." Her eyes stayed bright. She angled the scale toward him like she could hurt him. My son backed into my legs and I felt him shaking too. I grabbed the scale and shoved it back toward the trunk. She caught my wrist with a grip that was not gentle. "You're being sensitive," she whispered like it was a diagnosis. My dad finally looked up and he still did not step in. She snatched the chip bag from my son's hands. "Not before dinner," her tone sounded like a warning. I stepped in and reached for it, then stopped myself. My son stared at the floor like he lost permission. I won't lie, I tried to play nice at first. "Can we just eat?" My voice came out too flat. She turned toward my daughter and lifted her chin slow. "Sweetie, you're puffy in the cheeks today, aren't you?" My daughter blinked and swallowed like she did something wrong. I felt my mouth open and nothing useful came out. "You ever freeze while your brain screams at you?" My stepmom watched me like she was waiting for my excuse. She slid plates down and kept hers empty on purpose. Then she tapped my son's serving and pushed it back. Half, her nail clicked the edge like a judge's gavel. My son glanced at me like I'd decide his value. I tried to laugh it off and it sounded ugly. "Let him eat," I said it like a request. She leaned closer, voice low, like we were sharing a secret. "If you won't protect them, I will." My father made a small sound and kept chewing. He didn't look at either kid, not once. That hit me harder than any insult she threw. I realized I was alone in that room. She watched every bite like it was evidence. When my son reached for water, she pointed at the ice. "Too much," she held up one finger, then held up two. My son pulled his glass back like it burned him. My daughter asked for butter and my stepmom waved her off. "Your stomach will thank me later," she smiled without warmth. My daughter nodded fast, trying to be easy. That nod made me want to flip the table. I pushed my chair back and stood up. "Stop policing them," my hands were shaking again. She stayed seated and tilted her head, calm as ever. "Why are you acting guilty?" That word landed like a slap. I wanted to yell, yet my voice went thin. "Because you're humiliating them," I heard the crack in it. She shrugged like I complained about bad music. My son asked if he could use the bathroom. He didn't look at anyone when he asked it. My stepmom nodded like she granted parole. The second he left, I knew he was running somewhere. I followed him down the hall, trying not to stomp. A door was half shut and I heard soft sniffling. I pushed it open and found him crouched by the pantry shelf. He was holding a cookie like contraband. He wiped his face with his sleeve and flinched at my shadow. "I'm not hungry," he whispered it like a lie. I knelt down and swallowed my rage until it tasted bitter. Then I heard footsteps behind me, slow and steady. My stepmom filled the doorway and crossed her arms. "See," she nodded at him like she proved a point. My son's shoulders curled inward like he wanted to disappear. And that was the moment I realized she was escalating on purpose. My phone buzzed during pickup and my stomach tightened. The caller ID showed the school and I answered fast. "Hi, this is the nurse," her voice sounded practiced. "We're confirming your child's weekly weigh-in schedule, is that correct?" I gripped the steering wheel and stared straight ahead. "Weekly what?" My voice came out too sharp. She paused, then switched to that calm school tone. "It was requested by a listed guardian, should I cancel it?" I asked who requested it and she gave me a name. Hearing it out loud made my scalp prickle. I asked how anyone could do that without me. She hesitated, then said, "We have a signed consent form." I pulled into the nearest lot and killed the engine. My hands went cold, then hot, then useless. "Read the signature," I tried to keep my voice steady. She read my full name, clean and confident. For a second I actually doubted myself. Did I sign something and forget it somehow? Then I pictured her face at dinner, all control. "No," I said it out loud, alone in my car. I told the nurse to freeze everything right now. I asked for the form to be held at the office. Her voice softened like she finally heard the alarm. "I'll flag it," then she added, "Please come in today." I walked into the office, still smelling like panic. The front desk asked me to sign in and I did. My pen scratched harder than it should have. It felt like I was signing my own permission slip. The nurse met me near a hallway door and shut it. She slid a folder across the counter without eye contact. I opened it and saw my signature on a copied sheet. Except it was not my signature, not even close. It was neat, looping, almost fancy. Mine is messy and rushed, always has been. The form listed an emergency contact and it was my dad. My throat closed when I saw his number typed in. The nurse pointed at a checkbox on the second page. It wasn't just monitoring, it was a full plan. Weekly measurements, diet notes, a permission to speak with staff. My skin buzzed like I touched a wire. "Who turned this in?" I asked again, slower. The nurse tapped a line marked "Submitted by." It had my stepmother's name right there in print. Then it had a roll next to it, "Guardian." I laughed once and it sounded wrong in that room. "She is not their guardian." I pushed the folder back. The nurse blinked and looked genuinely startled. "She was listed in the system," she said, almost apologetic. I wanted to blame the school and I couldn't. They saw a form, they saw a signature, they followed policy. That made my anger turn sideways toward the person who planted it. I asked for copies of everything, every page. The nurse nodded and walked me to the principal's office. The principal listened, then called someone in a low voice. I watched her face shift from polite to concerned. Then she slid a printed report toward me, portal access logs. It showed a login time from my dad's home address. My pulse jumped and my mouth went dry. I did not want that to mean what it meant. I asked for the timestamp again just to hear it twice. I left the building with paper in my bag like evidence. My son asked why I looked mad and I told him I was. That lie tasted sour and he didn't believe it anyway. My daughter stayed quiet, watching my hands on the wheel. I called my dad from the parking lot and he picked up. "Hey kiddo," he sounded normal, which made it worse. "Did you put her on the school account?" My words came out clipped. A pause hit the line, then a sigh. "She's just trying to help." His voice went flat. I stared at the dashboard, trying not to scream. "She forged my name," I said it slow like a fact in court. He muttered, "It's not like that," and the line went quiet again. I drove to his place without planning to. I told myself I only wanted answers, nothing more. My hands were shaking so hard I missed the first turn. By the time I parked, my chest felt packed with stones. The house was empty, which should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like an opening in a fence. I stepped inside and heard the hum of a computer in the den. The screen was on unlocked. I know how that sounds, and yes, I looked. I moved fast like my body was on autopilot. An email thread sat open with the school attached in it. My name was in the subject line spelled perfectly. There was a scan form attached, the same one in my bag. And beneath it was a message from her account. Please keep this discreet, that line sat there plain and cruel. My fingers hovered over the mouse and I felt sick. Another email was right below it, newer. It wasn't school this time, it was a clinic intake packet. The message included my children's full names and birth dates. Then I saw the appointment time already set. I snapped photos of the screen with my phone. Each click felt loud, like I was setting off an alarm. I heard a car door outside and my blood turned to ice. Footsteps crossed the porch and coming straight in. I shoved my phone into my pocket and killed the screen. The front door clicked, then swung wide. Her heels hit the floor in a steady beat. I stood up too fast and the chair scraped like a warning. She spotted me in the den and stopped cold. Her eyes flicked to the computer, then back to my face. Well, the word came out soft, almost amused. I held my ground even as my pulse hammered. What are you doing here? Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I came for the truth, my voice sounded calmer than I felt. She lifted her brows like I said something cute. Then she glanced past me toward the hallway like she expected my kids. I stepped sideways and blocked the doorway with my body. They're not here, I kept my tone flat and final. Her nostrils flared and she looked irritated for 1 second. Then she reset her face like she put on a mask. She walked closer and lowered her voice. You scared them with your overreaction, she tapped the desk once. I slid my phone out just enough to show the camera. Her eyes followed it and the air tightened. I saw the emails, I watched her blink slow and controlled. I saw the intake packet, my throat burned on the words. She exhaled through her nose and folded her arms. You went through private things, her voice turned sharp finally. You forged my name, I didn't soften it for anyone. She waved a hand like swatting a fly. It was paperwork, she took a step closer, invading space. You're making drama because you feel judged. I wanted to slap that smug calm off her face. Instead, I pointed at the screen, then at the hallway. You used my kids like a project, my words came out clipped. Her eyes narrowed like she was picking her next move. She reached for the mouse and clicked fast. I lunged forward and slapped her hand away. The screen went blank and she jerked back like I hit her. Don't touch me, her voice rose loud enough to carry. My dad's voice came from the entryway. What the hell is going on? He sounded tired, not alarmed. She spun toward him and pressed a palm to her chest. She's attacking me, she didn't even hesitate. I stared at him, waiting for him to see it. He looked between us like he was grading a fight. Can we not do this? He rubbed his forehead once. That shrug of a sentence made my vision go tight. I pulled the folder from my bag and held it up. Look at the signature, I flipped it toward him. He leaned in, squinted, then pulled back. His face changed and I saw fear flash, then vanish. She was trying to help, he said it like a habit. I laughed, short and ugly, and hated myself for it. Help by lying, I tapped the consent page with my finger. His eyes dropped and he didn't answer. My stepmother moved closer to him, shoulder brushing his arm. Your daughter is overwhelmed, her tone turned syrupy again. She feeds them for comfort, she tilted her head at me. Someone has to step in before it gets worse. I felt my jaw lock and I forced it loose. Step in how? I asked, already knowing the answer. She pointed toward the printer like it was proof. Medical intervention, she said it like a verdict. She pulled out her phone and tapped a contact without looking. I can reschedule, her thumb hovered over the call icon. I stepped forward, voice low and hard. You are not taking them anywhere. She smirked, then aimed her phone at my face. I'm documenting this, she spoke like a professional. I turned my head not to hide but to stay sane. My dad watched the phone, then watched me silent. I took out my phone and opened my photos. Fine, I held up the screen with the email thread. Her smirk slipped just a little. My dad leaned in and his shoulders stiffened. You told them to keep it discreet, I tapped the line. My voice shook and I hated that too. You knew it was wrong. I looked at her without blinking. She lifted her chin, daring me to call it what it was. She tried to grab my phone fast and casual. I pulled it back and stepped away. You don't get to snatch things from me, my voice came out raw. Her eyes flashed and she turned on my dad instead. Tell her to calm down, she spoke like I was a child. My dad opened his mouth, then shut it. He looked at me like he was pleading without words. That look landed like betrayal with a bow on it. I pointed at the door and kept my arm steady. I'm leaving, I said it slow so it stuck. And you're not contacting the school again, I didn't blink. My stepmother laughed like I tried to settle. Yule's in her house. You can't stop me, she stepped closer again. I'm family, she pressed the word like a weapon. My stomach turned and I fought the urge to yell. Then she added the part that made my blood go cold. If you refuse help, I'll report neglect, her voice stayed smooth. My dad flinched and that told me this wasn't new. I stared at him and he couldn't meet my eyes. My kids' names felt suddenly fragile inside my mouth. I walked out without another word and didn't run. My legs felt heavy like each step mattered. In the car, I locked the doors and breathed hard. Then my phone buzzed, one new text from an unknown number. I opened the text and my chest clenched hard. Concerned neighbor here, the message started cute and fake. It listed my kids' names, then tossed in the word neglect. My thumb hovered over reply and I didn't answer. Another message came right after, same number. Tomorrow's appointment is confirmed, a screenshot sat below it. It had my children's info like someone owned them. I stared at it until the screen blurred, then I moved. I called the clinic and asked for the office manager. My voice shook, but I kept it clipped. That appointment was made without my consent, I spelled it out. She asked for verification and I gave what she needed fast. There was a pause, then typing on her end. She didn't argue or lecture, which shocked me. I'm canceling everything attached to that request, her tone went firm. Then she added, you may want to secure your records, and my stomach dropped. I hung up and called the school again. Remove every extra contact, I sounded like a drill sergeant. The receptionist tried the calm voice and I cut through it. No access, no notes, no exceptions, and I heard myself trembling. They asked me to come in with ID the next morning. I agreed, then sat in my car and exhaled slow. You ever realize you've been holding your breath for days? I looked at my hands and saw they were still shaking, so I started calling anyway. I rang my dad and he picked up on the second ring. What now? His tone carried that tired annoyance. I said she used a burner number to threaten me. Silence hit the line, then a soft, frustrated sigh. She's scared for them, he tried that line again. My jaw tightened so hard it hurt. Scared people don't contact my kids behind my back. Then I heard her voice in the background, close enough to be listening. She grabbed his phone and I knew instantly. You're spiraling, her voice sounded pleased like she won. I kept mine low because my kids were in the car. Do not contact my children again, and my throat burned. She laughed, one sharp little burst. I'm family, she pushed the word like a badge. I said family doesn't weaponize paperwork, and my voice finally broke. Then she said the ugliest thing, casual and confident. I already messaged their teacher, her tone stayed light. My vision narrowed like I got shoved underwater. I said, if you do one more thing, I'm calling the police. She hung up on me and that click felt like a challenge. I drove home with my kids whispering in the backseat. My daughter asked if she was too big for hugs. I gripped the wheel and swallowed the rage down. Your body is not a debate, I told her, then I heard my son sniffle. He asked if he was bad for liking snacks. That question punched me right in the ribs. I pulled into a parking lot and turned around in my seat. Listen to me, my voice shook and they both leaned in waiting. I told them grown-ups can be wrong and mean. I told them no adult gets to measure them for control. My son watched my face like he was checking for tricks. My daughter whispered, so we're safe now, and I almost cried. That night I changed every password I could remember. I removed my dad as a contact everywhere it mattered. It felt cruel and I hated that it felt cruel. Then my phone lit up with a new message, this time from my dad. He wrote, please don't punish me for her. I stared at the words and felt my anger wobble. You know that moment where guilt tries to dress up as love. My finger hovered over the keyboard and I didn't type yet. Instead, I sent one short message. I'm not negotiating my kid's dignity, that was it. Then I blocked his number and my stomach flipped hard. The screen went quiet and the quiet felt like jumping off a ledge. The next morning, the school handed me a printed copy. It showed notes added to my kids' profiles overnight. Prefers low-calorie options, monitor portion sizes, stuff like that. I felt my hands go numb and I asked who wrote it. The principal pointed to the account activity and frowned. It was my dad's login again, same house, same device. I didn't even feel surprised anymore, just hollow. I signed the removal form with a heavy hand, then asked for a report. On the way out, I saw my stepmother near the office. She stood by the front doors like she belonged there. She smiled at me like we were friends, like none of this happened. Then she lifted her phone and aimed it right at my kids. My son grabbed my sleeve and tried to hide behind me. My daughter froze with her backpack half on. I stepped between them and stared straight at that lens. Her smile stayed glued on and I realized she was not done.